Hello everybody, Glitch Reaper here. I'm back for another mob battle. This one was interesting. It was suggested to me a while back. I do have a backlog, but sometimes I get ones that I'm just going, I gotta do that soon. So this was an interesting idea, and it also has an additional bit of motivation for me to work it. Uh, there's going to be a biome update in Minecraft. Well, there always will be, actually. I mean, let's face it, Minecraft is eternally work in progress, although everybody loves it for it. But one of the things is whether or not it's going to be the earliest one out of the next three, the swamp biome will be updated, and it will also have some pretty cool features, including something that might historically be mentioned in Lycanites Mobs. So, yeah, as part of this little celebration, I'm going to have the swamp mobs from Lycanites Mobs versus a Myrmex Sentinel. Now, the thing is, there's only one spawn egg for each general type of Mirmix, and the environmental types, the ones that are based on biome, actually are kind of biome sensitive. So here in the Nether, it comes out as jungle, apparently because it's hot enough. So I don't know why it wouldn't be desert, because that's even hotter, but it just turns out that way. But either way, we get Jungle Myrmex. Uh, Again, please ignore those guys over there. They're just doing their own thing. I was experimenting before once, and they just sort of took over the underground. I am not sure how far they're going down through the Nether, but hilariously, since their blocks are easier to break, I created a further Nether break just because of that. So, yeah, that happened. But anyhow, I'd like to get on with the show of various things to have them go against. Now, a uh, a Sentinel is fairly aggressive in and of themselves, but I do have the ability to make them a little bit more aggressive with my Mob Enrager. I think they have a thing against passives especially, because check this part out. Oh, that's a stronger one. That's a Violet Aspen. That's a lot bigger than the one that I originally experimented with. And that is something, sometimes you'll get one that's better. Oh, he got seriously poisoned. Yeah. I could do that again in an interesting way. Let's just... Can you just... See, the poison trail is what's really getting him. He's hitting it, so it gets upset and runs away. But then he follows it and gets stuck in the poison trail. So it actually deals significant damage in that fashion. However, because they don't really try to fight back directly, it can't kill him either. So it'll get him down to like 1 point left. And that grab attack's pretty nasty. That will kill a lot of things. Just saying. That will be the reason for a lot of mob deaths. They also have some armor, because that punch should have finished him immediately, but it took 2, and he only had 1 point left, so I know he's got armor. So that is an interesting factor to think of here. So the Myrmix Sentinel has armor. That has been totally confirmed. So now I'm going to kind of relocate these a little bit more. And let's go to the next swamp mob. Now we got in, let's see, Angle. This is the one I was thinking of really showing off here, is the fact that it's Lycanite's version of a poisonous frog. And one of the ideas that's going to come up in the upcoming swamp update in vanilla Minecraft will be frogs. I don't know if they'll be poisonous, but it would be an interesting salute to the poison arrow frog. Of course, they're more in the rainforest, but you know, there's poisonous frogs around. It's not just in the rainforest. Holy jump! I know frogs have the hops, but that's a little ridiculous. Now, does this mean you can surprise attack this guy from way up there? Oops, didn't mean to do that part. Oh, the lick and poison attack. This frog's got moves. But if that Myrmix holds on, that the Sentinel did the grab, but he pushed him away? Wow, that was intense. The poison taken into account, he's dealt it more than half its HP and damage. Yeah, you kind of got, I'm not going to say completely wrecked, but that was interesting. So, yeah. Poisonous Frog certainly was on full display. He's like, hey, I've got to do some things for Frog Pride, so get poisoned. Certainly say that was more intense than whenever I tried that before to see if I could get him to fight. So, yeah. This thing really helps, even with Lycanites Mobs, which has special AI, so I'm really appreciative of that. My shout out to the guy who made this. I'm trying to remember his name right now, but I will get it later. Now let's continue on with the show. With a Lurker. They're a little more aggressive. As you can see, they like to do hit-and-run tactics. Of course, that doesn't always work out. Didn't do as well as against him as the Poisonous Frog did. I mean, he's down by not quite a third this time. The Poisonous Frog managed to take him down by over half. And then he just rested off like, yeah, I'm good now. So, yeah. I'm liking this hammer because it resembles Thor's hammer. So this design is working for me. I'm thinking of doing a series based on Lycanites Mobs equipment system where I show off various combos. I'm pretty sure that'll be just kind of a neat idea in general. But yeah, these are all things that really dwell in the swamp, including, of course, the Dweller. This guy doesn't normally do very well in the nether, so I'm going to prep this kind of in advance, because he can't stay out of the water very long. I might do another one just to see how well he serves in the water against the Sentinel, because maybe home turf advantage will help. Because they're a little sluggish on land, but they're poisonous. There's a big theme going with Lycanites Mobs with the swamp, is they're all really poisonous. It's like seriously toxic with everything in the swamp in Lycanites Mobs. So, it's a theme. It's a good, appropriate theme, because let's face it, a lot of things get poisonous in swamps. Partially just out of convenience. So that's how... Oh, I didn't quite throw those away. There we go. Okay, next. We have the Mirmix being set up again. This time we have Ettins. Ettins can be very destructive. They kind of dual-wield clubs. And when they panic, they go nuts. Oh, Scarlet Ettin. Stronger one. So I might have to do another round just to see how base Ettin does. But this guy is kind of like champion level. Notice the dual... Oh, that was interesting. Whenever he did his grab and pinch attack, or grab and bite, he held him above his head. Ettin's going with the dual-wielding clubs, but he can't seem to reach him all the time whenever he's actually being grabbed. So he did seem to get him out of it. Ugh, stuck up there again. Ettin's a little bit... Ooh, almost got it. Oh, that was close. I can certainly say the lower level one will not do nearly as good. But yeah, Scarlet Ettin versus this guy. He won, but barely. I mean, I'm just gonna have to... Well, you literally made yourself look like a nice nail. So, here's the hammer. Sorry about that. But, yeah. Ettin, I mean, they may be called a brute, but they did not have enough brute force to get through that. So, he tried. He tried. He seriously tried. Okay, let's go with another one of these. And this one, we're going with an eye wig. Eye wigs are interesting. They're... I might want to put one up here, so it gets a little distance. Whoa! Went right for it. Never mind me having to go aggressive. Wow. It really went for it this time. It still got nailed, though. And it's still poisonous. You might not have seen the poison array, but that's how they normally do things. But I don't know if the poison array is showing up in the nether right now. But you might have seen them before. It's like a big purple ray. And it puts anything that it hits into a great poison state. So it's pretty good for weakening things down to pretty much nothing. And since you can actually, like, get wigs tamed for yourself, that means that it's a kind of an interesting thing to know that you can use that poison attack on your own quite well. Of course, tamed ones have an advantage because they're practically immortal once bound. Now let's go to an elemental. The Each stick is very toxic. I've definitely encountered that before. They can pull it out of the sky, I might add, even though it flies. They resemble a moth, but it's not. He took him down super fast. Like, really, really fast. But things will be a bit different when we get to Remobra in all likelihood, because they are a bit more strategic. A bit more so than your average dragon, even. Attacking the Bloodlust uselessly. That's kind of funny. Of course, it can hold it, which is interesting in and of itself. But that's from another mod. Ignore that. Just because I have Advent of Ascension on here, it does not necessarily mean that I'm going for that. But yeah. Now, Remobra is important because as a minion type that you can summon directly, you can see how well using Remobras would be able to fight Jungle Myrmex, Jungle Myrmex Sentinels. Now, these guys have a special trait that they tend to fight more from above. I mean, they give the player enough ability to reach them. Oh, you actually reached them that time. Interesting. Not what happened before. In fact, I can put you immediately into round 2. Oops, didn't fly as high. Yeah, it's more like it. See, a player can reach that, especially like jump strikes, but these guys have a hard time getting their reach up there. Admittedly, that one I just did before, first time that happened. You can see how just one Remobra can basically just keep pouring on the poison. And the fact that it leaves a poison cloud underneath it after it hits just makes it a lot worse. So this guy is just getting nailed by a Remobra. That's just one. Although admittedly he was slightly injured from before, but not really by much. But you can tell that if you use these as minions and they fight smart, then the Jungle Myrmex Sentinel would have pretty much no chance. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting how that turns out. Of course, they are technically a small dragon, so you kind of have to expect that. However, there is something that I'm going to try to see, one way or the other, how it works out. Because I'm a little curious about just how they compare with a few other classics that are kind of the, I guess you could say, elite vanilla mobs now. So let's see how they go up against a pair of magic users. Not together, just separately, but just for testing purposes, spontaneous testing purposes, since things have gone so fast. I'm going to throw in a Witch and an Evoker, although not necessarily together. Because, admittedly, you probably won't encounter them like that very often. You're not naturally aggressive to a Witch. I would not have guessed that. But we know there's ways. See, the thing is, they can attack a lot quicker than the Witch. So I'm thinking maybe the Mirmix, once it really gets going, might be able to. But it was just kind of standing there for a while, which I thought was kind of curious. Come on, use your grab and fight thing. There you go. Of course, admittedly, the Witch's slowing effect and regeneration really comes up. Although she has taken off over half his health. Oh, but she's recovering hers pretty fast, too. Oh, there we go. He got a good grip on her for a moment. Just do that a few times in a row. Yeah, try to outpace her. He's not doing very good. Come on. Outpace the witch. Oh! Okay! Witch is... And she regenerated all the way up to full, too. That was intense. I happen to know that you can... well, you can actually have it where an evoker and witch fight in one way or another, and the evoker will always either win or tie against the witch. So I know evokers are stronger. So let's see if that works this way, though. And how did I get snow around here? I'm trying to remember if there was a mob... Oh yeah, now I remember, never mind. He just kind of sat there and dug it. Of course, these guys are a little toxic themselves. Oh, he's got them running in circles because of that. He's just pounding them with the summons. Oh, but then he went right for it. He's just like chewing on his face. Oh, predator attack. Munch, munch, munch. Oh, but then they surprise attacked him whenever he was busy eating. Oh, ho, ho. Dude, remember that if you're in the middle of something, you might not see something coming right behind you. So always be wary. Lesson learned there for the Jungle Myrmex Sentinel. So, I was just curious about that part myself. But, yeah, so going by this, I'd say the Jungle Myrmex Sentinel is kind of an elite, but I'm not sure exactly where he places it, so I might try a few other things over time, like maybe a bit out of Mousy's mobs or something, because I'm wondering if... I mean, he has a good amount of HP and does damage pretty quickly. I'm wondering maybe, just maybe, he can take on Barako a bit. So, it could happen. Maybe. I mean, there's some other pretty good mobs in that category, so we'll see. But I'm always curious where things sit, so I'd call this guy kind of a bit of an elite. Maybe, not exactly completely, but at least getting there. I mean, they're pretty good Sentinel guards. They'll keep their place pretty safe, but you can see how some mobs can get around that with certain tactics, and for that matter, players just ranging them like crazy would probably do pretty well. So they've got their strengths and weaknesses, certainly, but they're very interesting, and they have a cool method of fighting. I mean, that grab and chomp thing, just, ouch. That just looks painful. For now, I'll be logging off, and there will probably be more mob battles, including those with the Myrmix Sentinels, upcoming. So, hope to hear from you all later, and bye for now, everybody.